When Jesus said, "Truly, truly, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you," he was not inventing a metaphor. He was invoking the temple. And if you understand sacrifice the way ancient Judaism did, his words were not confusing, they were unavoidable. Welcome back to the Quiet Catechist, where history and theology meet. Today, we turn to John chapter 6, but we're not reading as modern Western Christians. We're reading it through the lens of first century Jews. And when we do, the shocking language of Jesus becomes something else entirely. You see, in the temple sacrificial system laid out in the book of Leviticus, sacrifice followed a pattern. It was structured, ordered, and intentional. It was not merely the killing of an animal. Sacrifice was a movement, from life to offering to communion. All four movements defined it. First, the selection of the sacrifice. The offering had to be unblemished and set apart. You did not give God what was damaged or defiled. You gave him what was whole and pure. Second, the shedding of blood. Because as Leviticus tells us, the life is in the blood. Blood was not violence for its own sake. It signified life poured out. Life offered back to the giver of life. Blood was the means of atonement because life was the means of restoration. And third, the offering to God. Portions were burned. The sacrifice ascended in smoke, presented upward. It was not merely killed, it was given back to God. And fourth, the sacrificial meal. In the sacrifices that restored fellowship and covenant, the worshiper ate the meat. This was not optional. The sacrifice was not complete until it became communion. Because in ancient Judaism, sacrifice was not simply about removing guilt. It was about restoring fellowship and joining in the covenant. You did not just watch atonement happen, you shared in it. Ancient Judaism did not separate sacrifice from communion. If you offered it, you ate it. Now, listen carefully. At the beginning of his ministry, John the Baptist declares, "Behold the Lamb of God." Lamb. This is not poetic language. That is temple vocabulary. Jesus is publicly identified as the sacrificial victim. Throughout his ministry, he is examined, questioned by the Pharisees, tested by the Sadducees, interrogated by Pilate. And even Pilate says, "I find no guilt in him." That was the unblemished victim. Then comes the cross. His blood is poured out. From his side flows blood and water. And at the Last Supper, recorded in the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus says, "This is my blood of the covenant." That phrase is not poetic. It is covenantal. It echoes Exodus 24. Moses sprinkles blood and declares, "Behold, the blood of the covenant." And then what happens? They go up to the mountain, and they eat and drink in the presence of God. Blood, covenant, meal, always together. Israel did not separate sacrifice from the table. Now, let's return to John 6. Jesus says, "My flesh is true food, and my blood is true drink." The crowd responds, "How can this man give us his flesh to eat?" But notice what they do not say. They do not say, "Master, is this symbolic?" They understood perfectly sacrificial logic. And the more they resist, the more concrete his language becomes. What scandalizes them is not metaphor, it's realism. And instead of softening the statement, Jesus intensifies it. He repeats it, he doubles down. If he were speaking merely symbolically, this would be the moment to clarify, as he does many times, but he does not. Because if he is the lamb must be eaten. You see, at Passover, a lamb was slain, but slaughtering the lamb was not enough. You had to eat it. If a household killed the lamb, but refused to consume it, they did not fulfill the command. The blood on the doorposts marked deliverance, but the meal sealed participation, sealed the covenant. Now hear Jesus again. Unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man. This is Passover fulfilled. This is temple completed. The cross is the altar. Jesus is the lamb. The Eucharist is the covenant meal. Without the meal, you are merely observing. With the meal, you are participating. Ancient Judaism understood that sacrifice restored fellowship, and fellowship was expressed in a shared table. But there's another layer to this. In temple worship, priests consumed portions of the offering. This was not casual eating, it was sacred participation in the altar. The letter to the Hebrews tells us, we have an altar. Christ is both priest and victim. He offers himself. And when he gives himself as food, the temple pattern is not abolished, it is perfectly fulfilled. The new altar becomes the table. The sacrifice becomes communion. But isn't that cannibalism? No. Because cannibalism feeds on a corpse and feeds on the dead. The Eucharist is participation in the risen and glorified Christ. Cannibalism destroys life. Sacramental communion communicates life. Cannibalism takes, the Eucharist is freely given. And we cannot divide what God has united. Jesus Christ is not a human body temporarily carrying divinity. He is one person, fully God, fully man. To call the Eucharist cannibalism assumes his humanity can be isolated from his divinity, as though we are consuming merely human flesh. But Christian faith has never allowed that separation. The Church confessed early at the Council of Chalcedon that Christ is one person, two natures, without division and without separation. When we receive him, we receive the whole divine Christ, not a fragment of him. The incarnate Word cannot be divided. Under the law laid out in the book of Leviticus, blood belonged to God because life belongs to God. Israel was forbidden to drink blood because life was not theirs to claim. So when Christ gives his blood as a drink, he is not violating the law. He is fulfilling it by uniting us to his divine life. What was once withheld because it belonged to God is now freely given because he is God. This is not human blood taken from a victim. This is divine life given by the victim. The temple always pointed forward. When we read through the lens of Leviticus, John 6 is not strange, it is inevitable. The sacrificial structure of ancient Judaism that God instituted was clear. A victim was chosen, blood poured out, an offering presented, and a covenantal meal shared. Jesus fulfills every movement. He is the Lamb. He sheds his blood. He offers himself to the Father, and he commands us to eat. This is not innovation, it is culmination. When Jesus says, "Unless you eat," he is not creating a new religion. He is bringing to perfect fulfillment the worship God Himself established, so that we may participate in the divine life through Christ, through the worship of the one true God. This is the Quiet Catechist, where history and theology meets. Until next time, keep the faith and keep learning.